Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through information to bring you, well, the core understanding you need, fast and deep. Today, we're flowing into the world of Tai Chi. You're probably tuning in because you're looking for ways to, boost your well-being, maybe get a better handle on stress, or just learn about these fascinating old practices.
And for this, we've got a really great guide. Our main source is Bruce Frantzis' Tai Chi Secrets Special Report 2.0 from Energy Arts. What's really compelling is his background. I mean, over 40 years doing this, teaching it. He was actually the first Westerner certified back in '81 in Beijing to teach the whole Tai Chi Chuan system.
Wow.
And his personal story, he actually credits Tai Chi with helping him recover after, get this, 7 car accidents. So it really shows you the potential for healing.
7. That's incredible. Okay, so our goal today then is to really pull out the essence of Tai Chi for you. We're talking benefits, the different ways you can approach it, how you might fit it into your life, whether you're totally new or, already practicing. We want those aha moments, but without drowning you in details. And it's amazing. Tai Chi goes back over 3,000 years in China. Originally, it was all about internal power for combat, so it was kept pretty secret.
A closely guarded secret.
But now, thankfully, we focus more on the health side, the moving meditation aspect. Okay, let's dive in. Francis gives us 5 foundational concepts to really get Tai Chi. That seems like the best place to start.
Definitely. The first one he talks about is energetic fitness. It's not just physical. Tai Chi develops this energetic fitness, basically, your ability to feel, move, and even store chi, or ki, that vital life force in your body.
See, right.
And what's really important here is that Tai Chi gives you a way to kind of consciously control your inner workings. It helps retrain your nervous system towards relaxation, towards calm.
That's so different from how we usually think about fitness, isn't it? Especially in the West. And our source really highlights this difference in the second concept. Western fitness is often about pushing limits, repetition.
Running faster, lifting more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speed, distance, strength. And often competition, winning.
But with Tai Chi, the markers for success are completely different. It's internal. It's about awareness inside your body, getting the alignment just right, making sure the energy flows smoothly. The goal isn't an external record, it's inner peace, really, a deep sense of well-being.
A totally different path to feeling good.
Fundamentally different, yeah.
Okay, so energetic versus physical fitness. Got it. Then the third concept looks at why Tai Chi was kept secret for so long. It wasn't just like mystical mumbo-jumbo.
No, there were very practical reasons. In ancient China, if you mastered Tai Chi, you developed serious internal power. That could literally mean survival in wartime, in hand-to-hand fighting.
Makes sense.
So these techniques were incredibly valuable, closely guarded, and specific families held this knowledge, taught it carefully. It was a source of power, influence, even income.
Right. Passed down through generations.
Yeah.
But the source notes that even though it's widely available now, mostly for health, something else has happened. We've become maybe more disconnected from our bodies.
Right. Yeah, that's a really key point Francis makes. This disconnect leads to more stress, more nervous system issues, which brings us neatly to the fourth concept, Tai Chi as an antidote to stress.
And goodness knows we need that.
Absolutely. Think about modern life. Constant tech phones, computers, ads everywhere, the pace of it all. It puts a huge strain on our nervous systems. Francis positions Tai Chi as a way to actively counter that stress. He points out, quite sharply actually, that despite all our tech advances, we haven't paid much attention to how they affect us, our nervous systems.
That's a powerful point. Tai Chi as a preventative measure. Okay, so stress relief, definitely appealing, but then there's the reality check, the fifth concept, making it a daily habit. Life gets in the way, right? Work, family, all the obligations.
That's always the challenge, isn't it? Fitting these important practices in. But Francis is clear. Based on decades of teaching, the people who get the most out of Tai Chi, they make it a daily thing. He even mentions like 20 minutes a day. It doesn't sound like much, but he says the return is disproportionate. Better health, less stress, more of that inner peace we talked about.
20 minutes for that kind of payoff. Sounds worth exploring. Okay, so those 5 concepts give us a really solid base. Now let's get into the secrets, as Francis calls them. Secret number 1 is about choosing the right Tai Chi style. And I guess many people don't even realize there are different styles.
Exactly. That's often the first surprise for newcomers. They think Tai Chi is just Tai Chi. But Francis stresses that fundamentally, all the styles work towards improving health, cutting stress, developing Qi. They all use those slow, flowing, circular movements. Often the first choice just comes down to finding a good teacher nearby. Convenience matters. But knowing the styles helps you choose wisely.
Right. So what are the main ones? Our source lays out 5 major styles. First is Yang.
Yang style, that's the big one. It's the most popular, practiced all over the world. It's not even monolithic. Francis says there are at least 20 main variations just in the UK and US and way more in China. Each has its own little flavor or emphasis depending on the lineage.
20 variations.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is the Wu style.
Wu style, yeah. Second most popular. It actually came from the Yang style. There are 3 main versions traced back to the founder and his family. The key difference from Yang is that Wu tends to use smaller, more compact movements. Between Yang and Wu, you're probably looking at like 80% or more of everyone who practices Tai Chi.
Wow, the vast majority. Okay, then there's the Chen village style.
Chen village. Now, this is the original style. Yang actually evolved from Chen, but it's much harder to find teachers. Francis estimates maybe only 1% of practitioners do Chen style.
Only 1%. Why so rare?
Well, it's quite different. It's not all slow motion. It alternates slow, careful movements with sudden, fast, even explosive ones. So it demands more physical coordination and can be maybe a bit harder on the lower back and knees. Tends to appeal more to younger folks, perhaps.
Interesting. Explosive moves. Not what most people picture with Tai Chi.
Not typically, no.
Okay, next is the house style.
How? This one is described as exceedingly rare, almost non-existent in the West. Its main feature is extremely small movements. The focus is almost entirely on the internal chi movement, not so much the physical shapes. So it's really considered an advanced style. You need a pretty solid background already to get into how.
Very internal, very subtle.
All
Okay,
right.
and the last category.
Combination styles. As the name implies, these mix things up. They freely borrow movements and ideas from the other 4 styles, and sometimes even other internal arts like Bagua or Yixing Ai. They're the 3rd most popular group, after Yang and Wu. Offers a bit more flexibility, maybe.
Right, a blend. Okay, so that's style choice secret number 1. Secret number 2 then moves on to choosing frames. And we're not talking about pictures here, are we?
No, definitely not. Once you've picked a style, the frame is about the size of your movements, large, medium, or small. There are kind of 2 ways to look at this. First is just the physical size of the external moves. Large frame means, well, large movements. Arms extended, big waist turns, long, low stances. Small frame is the opposite. Movements are condensed, more intricate perhaps. Smaller waist turns, often higher stances. Like a hand might travel, say, 30 inches in large frame, but only 5 or 10 in small frame. A waist turn might be 90 degrees versus 45 or less.
That's a very clear physical difference. And the second perspective on frames.
That's about how you develop the chi, the internal energy. This gets a bit more subtle. Large frame styles tend to emphasize getting the external movements right.
Right.
First, the muscles, tendons, alignment, structure. The idea is that by perfecting the outside, you gradually open up and influence the inside, the deeper systems. So the outside opens the inside.
Okay, structure first.
Right. Small frame styles often take more of an internal out approach. They focus more directly on moving the chi through the deeper parts, spine, organs, joints, and letting that internal movement guide the physical shape.
So inside generates the outside movement. Interesting contrast. The source also mentions body type playing a role.
Yeah, just an observation, really.
Yeah.
Francis suggests, if you have longer arms and legs, maybe large frame feels more natural, shorter limbs, longer torso. Perhaps small or medium frames feel more comfortable. It's just a potential influence.
And stretching is different too.
It is. Large frames involve more of what we'd call outer stretching, reaching out, extending limbs far from the center, those wide stances. Small frames focus more on inner stretching. Things like releasing tension around organs, finding space between vertebrae in the joints themselves without necessarily big limb extensions. Francis even hints that this inner stretching in small frames might help release stagnant energy faster, maybe connect you more to inner emotional stuff.
Deeper release, potentially. Okay, frame choice is definitely key. Secret number 3 then. Choosing the right form length. What exactly is a form here?
A form is basically the set sequence of movements you practice in Tai Chi, like a routine or choreography for a specific style. And they come in different lengths, generally short, medium, and long. Most of these forms, whatever the length, actually derive from the style's original long form.
Okay, so how long is long? How short is short?
Generally, short forms are maybe 15 to 40 movements.
Yeah.
Medium forms, say, 40 to 70. And long forms are usually 80 movements or more. Sometimes they count repeated moves separately, so the numbers can vary a bit.
And mostly done slowly, right? For health.
Overwhelmingly, yes. Slow motion is standard for health and stress relief benefits. There are exceptions, like we mentioned with Chen style, having faster parts, but slow is the norm. And generally, longer forms offer potentially deeper benefits. but obviously they take more time and commitment.
Which makes sense. Shorter forms give you the basics without that huge initial investment.
Exactly. Francis really leans towards beginners, starting with short forms. His experience shows people are just much more likely to stick with it if they start short. It's less daunting, easier to learn, easier to remember, especially helpful for older folks maybe, who might find learning sequences takes a bit longer. You get the core benefits, build a foundation, and then maybe move on.
So what extra do the medium and long forms offer?
Medium forms, often seen in Yang and Chen styles, tend to include most of the postures from the long form, just with less repetition. They challenge your coordination more than short forms, but need less time and stamina than the full long form. Because there's more variety, they might stretch more specific tissues, increase range of motion a bit more than the shortest versions.
Okay. And the long forms, maximum benefits.
That's the potential, yes. Long forms are structured to really build and circulate qi significantly as you progress. Francis describes how, especially in styles like Yang or Wu, where they're often split into 3 sections, the energy accumulation can really jump up in the later parts. Each new posture adds something. But it's the most work. Requires the most commitment, the most perseverance.
How much time are we talking roughly?
For a typical 108 move, long form, doing it slowly could take anywhere from, say, 15 minutes up to over an hour, depending on your pace. Short forms, much quicker. Maybe 3 minutes, maybe up to 20 minutes. Big difference.
Definitely. Okay, so putting it together. For someone mainly interested in health and stress relief, what's the best approach? Style, frame, form?
Generally for healing and stress, the slow motion styles are usually recommended. Frantis cautions that Chen style's explosive moves might jar joints or the spine, so maybe not ideal for general healing or if you have back issues. But really, all the main styles can help with muscle joint problems or internal imbalances. He does suggest that for trauma-related stuff, the small frame internal styles might be better at releasing that deeply stored energy.
Okay. And for a complete beginner, what's easiest to get started with?
Ease of learning is key for sticking with it, right? So styles like Yang, Wu, and Hao are generally seen as easier for physical coordination.
Right.
Combination styles are maybe middle ground, and Chen is often the toughest physically to learn initially.
Right.
Large frames might give you that feeling of stretching faster, especially the legs and hips, but small frames get you there too, just over time. If you have bad knees or a bad back, the higher stances often found in smaller frames can be gentler. Large styles might build leg strength quicker because of deeper stances. Smaller styles can make it easier to focus on the internal work, the organs.
Lots of nuances to consider. What about for people over 50? Any specific advice?
Yeah, he offers some thoughts there too. Again, slow motion, short forms are often a good starting point. Learning new movements can sometimes take a bit longer as we get older, so keeping it short and manageable is less frustrating. Easier to enjoy. Those deep stances in large frames. Need to be careful if you have knee or back issues, though they can be good if you're strong there. Smaller frames might be particularly good for internal organ health in elders. Interestingly, he notes large frame movements might initially be easier for some older people to see and remember, but the subtleties of smaller frames can become really fascinating later on.
So it really is a personal exploration, finding what fits your body, your goals, your time. But these insights from Francis offer a great map.
Absolutely, a really valuable framework. And we really just covered the foundations and the first 3 secrets. There's so much more depth in the source material about finding teachers, the deeper energy work.
For sure. We've only scratched the surface of Tai Chi Secrets. Lots more wisdom there about integrating it fully into life.
But hopefully this deep dive gives everyone listening a solid starting point, a sense of the principles, the variety, the potential benefits, whether it's for stress, health, or just curiosity about this ancient practice. We hope it sparks some useful insights without being too much all at once.
Definitely. And it leaves us with maybe a final thought to chew on. Even if you don't jump into formal Tai Chi right away, consider this. How might just bringing a few moments of mindful movement into your day, noticing your breath, moving gently, how might that alone start to shift your experience of stress, your energy levels? It's really about reconnecting with your body, your inner self, something to think about.